Spatchcock Nation, we are back with one of the greatest people in Central New York, one of the greatest people that's influenced me in my life. This is our friend Laura Serway. And before I tell you about her first, I want to shout out Head and Heel, CBD oil, all sorts of stuff. They have this great organic farm, and they're friends of the show, so we love you guys. So our guest today is really special. We're going back to the roots of local food, eating local, being local, and sharing love. And Laura Serway, so she owns LACI'S Tapas. She does bourbon tours across Kentucky. She is an expert in all sorts of things, but she's also a massive community leader and a mentor. So for me personally, she's had a massive influence on me in my career. When I first moved back from New York City, I started working advertising here in Syracuse. And she was working in the radio at the time and took me under her wings. I remember we went to a basketball game and we were drinking beers right by the court. And you give me advice like, hey, you shouldn't say this and you should do more of that. Probably more of the you shouldn't say this stuff. But you had a big influence on me and so many people in the area, including my wife and many others. So we're so pumped to have you on the show. So how are you doing?
Amazing. Just trying to make sure that I can wake up every day, be happy and be blessed and be thankful for what I have and find a way to move forward. That's my goal.
That's what's up. You know, when we started the show, my partner and I actually, one of the first people I sought out advice from was obviously you. And I remember going to the diner on the end of Teal, and I got there and I had my questions already to get advice from you. And there was someone that you were having breakfast with first, and then I was your next appointment. And then towards the end, you're like, you got to go because someone else is waiting for this, dude. Let's go. And I just love that you're giving of your time while still just doing so many great things, man. It's really special.
Well, that's the idea, right? I mean, every Monday we're cooking for Salvation Army, and I'm making sure that those 90 or 100 seniors, whatever the number is for the week, that we've accommodated and made sure that we've created at least, 15 of their meals for the week. So, I mean, today I was working with Michael Speech of Speech Camedy. And he said, Laura, I need someone to deliver. I'm like, okay, let's go. So I take off and I go deliver for him. He always puts me the farthest places out, but that's okay. I was in Casanova, so where did I go? Chenango Falls, and stopped and did a little video and just said, hey, I'm here getting fat, eating chocolate. Life is good. And now we're drinking bourbon, so life is even better.
We are. Okay, well, let's jump into these questions because I can't wait that we tailor a lot of them to you. So the first one we always do in the show is an MFK, and we chose 3 women. We chose them for a couple of reasons. One, you're a big disco fan, and these people influenced. 2 of them are part of that. Also, they're all from a time when you were coming up and really starting to get strong. So, and they're all powerful women. So MFK, the rules are you have to pick one that you're going to marry, have a long-term monogamous relationship with. The F one is a crazy one-night stand, and then K's got to kill one. So your choices are Diana Ross, Blondie, and Joan Jett. Let's hear it.
So definitely married to Diana Ross. She's amazing. She's just amazing. Everything she does, everything she wears, the outfits, the numbers, the passion in her music is outstanding. The one-night stand would have to be Joan Jett.
Good choice.
Wow. Right? What's that all about? Look at that image. And of course, the last one is Blondie. And it's not even that. It's only because out of a matter of the choices, I only have 3. That'd be the last one.
Wow. Okay. That was a little bit of a curveball. I expected a good answer, but mine's a little different. So I hate to do this right off the bat. I'm going to kill Diana Ross. And she's awesome and super important to history, a lot of music that I love and fashion and stuff like that. But she's a bit of a diva, and I feel like that might bring me down in either of the other scenarios. So Diana Ross, sorry, you got to go. I'm going to marry Joan Jett. Like, I just think about, I hate myself for loving you, and she's such a sexy badass. Or like the beginning of I Love Rock and Roll, where she's like, darn it, and just killing the guitar. So I'm going to marry her because she'll be fun all the time. And I'll one-night stand it with Blondie because, she's a Studio 54 type person. We're going to get in some trouble for one night. So,
but Blondie's music was blown up too big for me, right? I just think that when you talk about the traditional 80s disco, it's Diana Ross. Right. I mean, she's the one that blew it out of the water. And, when she would walk out on stage with those gowns on, girl, I'd be in heaven. That was my favorite time, just to watch her walk out and that poise and amazing. Yeah,
you can't go wrong with any of those, but she's definitely royalty. So we're talking about drinking. What are you drinking right now, and why do you love it?
Well, you know what? I'm a traditionalist at heart, right? And so this is Blanton's. And Blanton's is made at the Buffalo Trace Factory in Louisville, Kentucky. And when I have my choices, I do try to pick what I love the most. And Blanton's is probably one of my favorites. It's in my top 5. And it's the bourbon that you collect all of the corks with, and then you've got to make a completed stave of all the letters, because every cork has a letter. And so, of course, I've got quite a few of those. I'm sure you can imagine. But I'm always on the ice girl, and I love it because it gives you a different flavor altogether. It opens up the bourbon. Sometimes I'll put a splash of water, sometimes I won't. Can I drink it neat? Absolutely. When I'm sampling barrels and what I'm going to buy, it's always neat. But on nights like tonight, it's on ice.
I know that you're typically an on ice girl, so I'm an on ice girl today in your honor. And actually, what I'm drinking is some Angel's Envy rye that I got from you, and I save it for special occasions because it's a pretty baller drink. But I'm gonna roll with you, so I can kind of big time it. But you taught me a lot about bourbon too, so it's funny because and I would think too, while you're buying it, right, when you're selecting it, neat's the best way to get the best taste of it. Is that
right.
True?
That's right. So it gets the hardcore. How do you explain this? It gets the hardcore pieces. Is it caramel? Is it vanilla? Is it oak? What is it that you're pulling out, right? And the nice thing about that Angel's Envy is a unique product in so many ways. By the way, when I was down there and a couple of weeks ago, God, it was a month ago now, and met with Wes, who's the owner, he promised me to come up for a special dinner. So yeah. So watch out, Syracuse. So not only do you have the Angel's Envy that's aged in a port barrel, then you've got the Angel's Envy rye, it's a Caribbean. Then you've got the Angel's Envy that's the select barrel, or the once a year edition that he does. This year is unbelievable. He said it's one of his best years. I had my first drink of it with him. And then what you'll never see in this market for sale, never, ever, ever, because it sold out in 30 seconds, is an Angel's Envy aged in a tawny port. So I'm a huge Angels fan. I drink a lot of that rye.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, the tawny port is much richer than the original Angel's Envy.
Okay. So, I spoke earlier about a lot of great advice you've given me. What was some of the best advice that you got when you were coming up?
It depends on what coming up means. I mean, in the food industry, most certainly, because that's what I do now. In the food industry, the best advice was to listen and to relax a little bit. I'm a little type A, not much, just a little, right? So I would walk into a place, one of my restaurants. I ran 180 Wendy's restaurants back in the day. I'd walk in and I'd be like, this is this. Take a breath, right? I still have that issue. There's times when we'll get ready for a major weekend, like graduation weekend. Well, when we used to get ready for a weekend, and one of my servers would be like, "Laura, did you take a Xanax?" And I'm like, "Shut the hell up, really?"
Get back to work.
That's right. Get back to work, darn it. So, being a little calmer and listening more. So that's the food industry part. And I think that the industry part of the media business was absolutely listening as well. I mean, I think no matter what you do, it's the 80-20 rule, right? I mean, 80% of the time you should be listening, 20% of the time you should be talking. But that 20% of the time that you talk, it should be for good reason, good intent, good purpose, and then it sinks in with the person you're with, and they realize, because silence is golden, they realize, A, they're talking too much, or what they're saying is little value. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's something, I mean, I like you, I'm type A, I like to talk a lot too. So listening is big. But for me, actually, when I was young, there was a football coach that was a really good man, and he was about inclusiveness, but like a hard-nosed old school football guy would be. But he told all of us, and at the time it made sense, and it still does to this day. He said, take care of the little things, and the big things will take care of themselves. So if you want to become a great football player, learn how to block, learn how to lift weights. You want to be a good husband, learn how to buy flowers or whatever, these different things. So that to me has always been something where I think about the things that I want to do, that Alex and I are doing with this show. Are we doing little things? We're making good content, having good guests. And it's the little things. And that advice has been something that's really, really gone far with me.
Sure. That makes really good sense, because that's true. I mean, there are so many little things that take place even in the restaurant at night. There's a piece of paper on the floor. I know I drive my team crazy. I'm like, look at your floors, pick those things up. The people they see those things and they realize either we're really good at what we do or we suck at what we do. So I'm
All
hoping they
right.
say we're really good.
Here's something else you're good at too. And then I don't know that a lot of people know this about you, but you're also a pretty killer DJ. I've been to a few weddings and some parties where you've thrown together. So what are two songs that typically appear the most in a lot of your sets?
So, you know what? That's a really good question. I mean, as an example, it's hard to narrow it down to two, right? It's Earth, Wind, and Fire, all-time fave, right?
Yeah,
You know,
no doubt.
EWF, you play a little September. You got to have September in your mix. You got
I
to
knew
have
you were going to say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
right? Yep. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
got to have some Shaka. You got to have a little I'm Every Woman, because you know I'm going to be playing right along and out there dancing right along and have, because, you know, we got to play the role. But there's so many incredible tunes that are in the 117 to the 123 beats per minute segment that I play, that Best of My Love. I mean, I could go down the list that I play. And, you know, when people come to my house and they see my music room, they're like, what? How did you do this? This is what I do, man. I love my music. So, you know, it's been a fun time being home during this off period, shall we say, because I've gotten it all set up and I've threw out some new stuff and I'm putting together some new mixes and having a good time.
That's awesome. You know, so I knew that you'd have cool answers, and I had figured some Earth, Wind, and Fire would show up in the mix. So for me, I went through my Spotify list, and what I found was for parties, like I got tons of mixes, but for parties, there's two songs that show up a lot. One of them I was surprised by, the other one I wasn't. So Fetty Wap, Trap Queen is in a bunch of my lists, and that's a cool song. But the song Toxic by Britney Spears, dude, I love that song. And like, it's got like the electric bass where it's like, wow, wow. And then she's basically like sexily singing to this guy that she knows is bad for her. Like, I know that you are bad for me, but I got to take a sip from your devil's cup. And that, the way the song runs around, it's just like, dude, that's a banger. And I love it.
And that shows the age difference between you and I. Not a bad thing.
No.
It's all good, because it's interesting that those are the two of your faves. That's very interesting, because for me, you know, I love some of the new music, but wow, you know, I'm a 70s and 80s girl all the way.
So, but that's why you're good at your job, and all your jobs actually, is that you are able to, like, okay, maybe you and I don't agree on this particular type of music or this food, but you have this inclusiveness to you that we're trying hard to just make sure that we just, it's important to us as people, as storytellers, to share that. And I love that, like, you're one of the people that I know that will disagree on different things and still like, oh, you know what though, but we're still cool. And that's something that I think the world needs more of. And I'm hoping that after we're all locked inside forever, that we kind of remember that, you know what I mean?
It's gratitude, right? What are you thankful for? I mean, every day my goal is, when I get up, I want to try to help somebody, right? Because I tell people all the time, listen, my day job is I feed the community. My night job is I feed my customers. And I do what I can to help my customers. And so that gratitude is in my heart. It comes from my heart, because I am feeding my customers and I am taking care of what their needs are and what our community needs are. And that's what creates the gratitude. And if you have gratitude and you're thankful and you're pleasant and you're a kind person, it'll all come together.
Yeah, no doubt.
Come together.
Well said, man. Well said. Okay. So another thing too, that we want to know about, because I'm certain there's tons of these. What's the craziest thing you witnessed at LACI'S?
Here's the funny part, is that I had just left the restaurant. So my good friend Julie Briggs owns 443 behind us, right? And, you know, the Holly Green District, we all try to support each other the best that we can, like any small business. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'll be over tonight. Her husband got me some Blanton's. It's right there. He loves Blanton's as well. So I'm like, I'll be over. So as soon as I walk, and it's literally behind my restaurant. I mean, it's not that far away. As soon as I leave the restaurant, there was a guy at the bar that had been drinking, and he drank too much. Now, this has happened 2 times in 10 years. Drank too much and decided that he was going to, as my people tried to say, listen, now you really need to go. And they dialed me. And the time that they dialed me and I left Julie's and got back to my place, he had gone to the front of the house. And when you go to the front of the house, there's a handrail that you use to walk up the stairs. He had pulled it off.
What?
He had pulled it off.
That thing's like raw iron, like.
No shit. He
holy
pulled
shit.
it off the staircase. And he goes down the stairs with one of my servers, Jen, who's a hot mess, been with me for 9 years. She's behind him, and she's like, go ahead and push me. You gonna push a girl? What are you gonna do? You're gonna push me. And she pushed him down the stairs. I'm like, oh my gosh. This guy
Holy
was
shit.
And he had this, and she goes, give me that. It belongs to us. And so she pulls it out of his hand to watch it on video, because of course I had a video on the whole.
Naturally.
To watch it on video, we laughed till we cried, because it was just one of those things. It doesn't happen, right? I mean, this is Lacey's Tapas Bar. It doesn't happen. We're not that joint. But this guy was a hot mess and trashed. And he was trashed when he came in. And he told us he wasn't driving, because, of course, we asked. All my folks are tip certified. And I thought he was fine when I left, because I thought, you know, I had already been talking to him, because I can target those people that you think might have a little too much alcohol. So, oh my gosh. So when I got there, I saw him walking on the street, and I caught up to him. I'm like, really, dude? You trashed my railing. Really?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
You broke my restaurant, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we had some fun with it. But yeah, that was definitely one of the all-time favorites of the restaurant. And again, 10 years, we've had 2 incidents of people that had drank too much alcohol. Sure. And both of them lived within a stone's throw of the restaurant. So
that's the way it works, right?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, you know, the whole eat small, live large. You do it at that place. Like the everybody that works there is great, and I've had a lot of good crazy experiences there. But one of them, though, the ingredients by themselves weren't crazy, but in the setting it was. So I was thinking about this. Happened actually in the last year. With you guys threw a surprise party for my wife, and when you put it together, one of the surprises was going to be a drag show, and the drag show itself was just a normal drag show, which is awesome, and drag shows are just cool, fun things. But the surprise was, like, we're drinking and carrying on, and there were people there who were good people, but they are people that necessarily have definitely never been to a drag show and even know what one is, right? So, like, we're having drinks, and all of a sudden you, like, come up and whisper at me, you're like, hey, it's about to be a drag show, check this out. So we're drinking and laughing, and all of a sudden performers come out, and they're awesome and fun, and there were people there that were good, not closed-minded or bad people, but it was just something that they were, like, scared isn't the right word, but kind of like, what
was that?
Yeah. So I'm like watching that. I'm like, this is crazy. And then I have a drink, and I kind of forget about it, and the show's going on. And I go and I get a cocktail at the bar, and then I turn back around, and a couple of the people there that were nervous about the show happening were getting pictures taken, posting to Instagram. Like, they were so excited. It was like they were meeting celebrities. And I'm like one of them, you mentioned Diana Ross. She goes, she has some Diana Ross to her. I'm like, yeah, but that's not Diana Ross, right? You know that. And she's like, this is amazing. Like, this actually happens here. And their response is like taking photos. They went from being like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do here? And it was just like, but that's the inclusiveness and the just the power of the parties of that joint, man. Like, that was wild to me.
You know, and that's what makes it fun, right? Because listen, everyone has their own style, their own thing to do. And when we do those things, people, like you said, that's the reaction, because some people have never been around a drag show, don't understand what a drag queen looks like, or a transvestite, or whatever you want to call this person, transgender, whomever. And here they come in. And then when Raven walked in the door, and they all know Raven from hanging around with me, and she's got on her heels that are like 4 inches high, and she's already 6 foot tall. They're all dying again, because that's what I'm used to, and that's who I live with. And I really feel that I am lucky to have the opportunity to help people understand that there are so many wonderful things to experience at Lacey's and in life. Let's do it together.
For sure. And her heels were super high too, because I remember doing a shot with her at the bar, and I'm turning, we were talking about food or something, and I turn, and I remember just being like, almost like looking at a belly button. And I'm like, oh man. And like, I mean, because I'm short, so like you're saying there were 4-inch heels. In my mind, they were like 15-inch heels, you know?
Right.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
okay.
I think Steph had a good time that night too.
I
love that, Stephanie.
That's the thing that also too, it's a great place to have parties or graduations, because I feel like when you're in there, people, you can make your friends, and you feel valued and appreciated. And I think that's a big deal. And then when the drinks are flowing too, like how does that go wrong? You know?
Well, we hope it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, or you pull the railing off the stairs. That's how it goes wrong.
What is that? Remind me next time we get together. I got to show you the video, because when because now we have the video and Jen's commentating behind it, and you see her come in, and she's like talking over the video. Then here comes my big ass. I walked in the door carrying this pipe. Oh my God. It's hysterical. And the cops show up and I'm like this, listen, the guy was drunk. Who cares? Let it go. You know, I mean, I have everything on video. Police cameras outside my door. They have it all on video. What are you going to do?
I mean, the cops love you guys. So, I mean, I get that they're being cool about that, but like, that's kind of a tough situation too. You got cops coming. There's a railing off the wall. You know, some dude's pushing around a girl. You're like, don't worry. It's cool. It's cool.
We got it. We
got this. Okay, so I'm sure while you're home right now, you're ingesting a lot of content, watching movies and stuff. What's a movie right now that makes you, what's a movie that makes you cry every time you see it?
You know what's funny? And again, not many people know this about me. I even sold television for a living. I rarely watch TV, right?
What?
Rarely.
Wow.
Rarely. So here's me going in the middle of a divorce, literally month 1 or month 2, whatever it was. And so Amy Robbins calls and she's like, let's go watch a movie. I'm like, okay, let's go. So what does she take me to go see? A Star is Born #2 or whatever the hell it was called.
Oh, man.
I said, remind me never to go with Amy Robbins to a movie again when she chooses. I'm like, she goes to me, Laura, she goes the next day, she goes, we were halfway through the movie and I looked at you and I thought, oh Lord, I picked the wrong movie. I'm like, yeah, you did.
What was she thinking, man?
Because she's crazy as a loon.
I mean, you know, that's a great movie. When my wife and I saw that movie, our plan was there was like some sick blues band that I loved was playing it at Shifty's later in the night. So we had dinner, the two of us, and she's a huge Lady Gaga fan, so am I. And you know, this is a really cool, well-written story and everything. So we're like, let's go to this movie. Then afterwards, we're going to go to Shifty's and listen to some blues and just party. So we saw the movie, which was awesome and emotional. Yeah. And then she's like, do you still? I'm like, no, I do not want to drink any beers or I don't want to do anything after watching that. Like, because it just gets you. I mean, what a dick move by Amy Robbins to do that, man. She's crazy, dude.
You know I'm never going to let her live it down.
Oh, no. And she deserves to be punished for life for that. But it made a great story, though, you know?
It sure makes a fun story now because now I look at it like, whatever.
Yeah, now for sure. But, I mean, I might be swinging that situation.
Still adore her. Still one of my favorite people in the world.
There's a few movies, like Braveheart used to do that for me a lot, but like Shawshank Redemption, I don't know if have you seen Shawshank Redemption? So at the end of it, like I don't want to spoil it, but I am now when Andy Dufresne meets up with Red, right? Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins see each other on the beach. Like, I cannot like just sob. Like, these are two friends that have just like gone through hell and back. And every time I see it, I'm just like, oh, you know, like it just in a good way. It's one of those good cries where you're like, all right, man, this was worth the tears. Which sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. You know. Okay, so one of the things too about LACI'S that is awesome is so you have a great staff and the atmosphere in there is sexy as hell. It's the best liquor collection. I mean, Alice has a good liquor collection downtown, but yours is curated personally in a way and it revolves. So you can't use LACI'S as an example, but it's a good example of it. What is your best like restaurant experience that you had? And it doesn't have to be the best restaurant in your favorite restaurant, but just the best like restaurant experience. You're like, this is how good restaurants roll.
Well, it's a two-part answer, right? So the best experience at my restaurant truly was when I introduced my barrel, right? And for the first time that night, I put all the customers behind the bar. We unveiled this huge cabinet, and I was so, so proud of that. And it was absolutely one of my best nights at that restaurant. In terms of other restaurants, always in a day, Rita Grimaldi, hanging out at Grimaldi's. There's never been one day that's been better than the other because every time I go there, it's amazing. I'm a huge Grimaldi's fan. Her sauce is spot on. Service is always great, and I always have a lot of fun. And so to me, that's what it's about. It's about the hospitality. It's about the service. It's about how you are treated. The food can be average. You can go anywhere to eat, but if you're not treated right, you're not going back.
Yeah, you are right. You know, it's funny. I haven't been to Grimaldi's in a while, and every experience I've ever had there, whether it's been at a small wedding reception or a dinner, yeah, the food's good for sure, very good. But you're treated and you feel like you are some kind of royalty there, and in a way though that's not like pretentious, you know. That's
right, and that's how Rita is too. She's salt of the earth. She's that person that truly cares about the customers that come in the door, and also cares about the service that you've been given, because she knows her product's incredible. So that part's going to speak for itself. I mean, like, she's opening up this weekend coming up, and we talked about it on the phone quite extensively. And I just said, plan on me being there. Doesn't matter. I don't care what time of day. I'll be going through drive-through to pick up my food.
For my standpoint, there's a lot of great restaurants, and obviously I love to eat and drink. My favorite restaurant in the world is this place, Giacomo's in New Orleans, but that's not my favorite restaurant experience. I was actually, my wife and I and a friend of ours named Paul were in New Orleans, and we went to Commander's Palace. Mm-hmm. And, it's a world famous restaurant. It's super classy. And I was excited about just the fact that we were going to go there. But when we walked in, you got to wear jackets and everything, and it's high end, but it's obviously very high end, but it doesn't feel like it is. So we sit down, and the server comes by, and he's like, "Hey, so what are you drinking?" And I said, what gin do you have here? And he's like, "Sir, I can list them for you, but tell me what you're feeling, and it's likely that we'll have the bottle." So I'm like, "Well, I like a Hendrix or like a Tanqueray Malacca," and he rattles off like 8 different gins, and he can tell that I'm overwhelmed by the choices. So he very, very classy. He's just like, "You know what? I think you might like this. Let me put it together and we'll see what happens." So now I'm feeling pretty good about it. We order cocktails, we order appetizers, and when each thing was served, right, there were 3 of us, and they'd have 3 servers come out at the same time, and all from the same side, serve it over your shoulder. It was like, and even though it was expensive and really great food, but we're drinking, like, the guy would also notice, like, I just put a little more Angel's Envy in my glass, but if he noticed there was a little bit in there, he would come over and discreetly just give you a look, and you'd be like, yeah, let's have another one of those. So that type of thing too. And you guys do that well there. So I'm going to segue into something else a little bit. Like, the people that work for you, they have this really tight bond with the way that you connect with them and things like that. So what are the things that you kind of look for? How do you create that atmosphere? Tell us about how you create this family feeling among the staff there that translates to everybody else.
It's a really good question. I am so proud of my team, Matt. I got to tell you, how did I create it? By just being who I am. I feel that it's important that each of them have a voice in the business, that each of them are heard with that voice in the business. And even if I agree or disagree with what they're telling me or what they're suggesting to me, I acknowledge it, right? As an example, I just hung up with a Zoom call with all of them. My entire team was on except for one person. He couldn't get on for some reason. But we do it once a week to keep them together. And I've said to them right along the way, if you want to come back, awesome. If you don't, I get it. It's okay. Just tell me. But one of the things that we're doing to maintain that camaraderie is that every person is going to be ServSafe certified, which is a National Restaurant Association certification. Purposely. Does the main hostess need to be certified? No. But that's the kind of stuff that we do to maintain the continuity and the love in the building. We take care of each other.
It shows every time I'm in there, like failing behind the bar, different people that were just coming over and talking, like, it's just, and people, it shows. And, oftentimes you got to think to yourself, at least to me, I've always thought good people beget good people. And, when you have a good natural leader like you and you attract that, and you've also done things as we're in quarantine to keep these people safe and help them out. And I think that type of, leader shows and it runs downhill. You know what I mean?
Well, you lead by example, right? It's no different than when you're really, really busy. The bartender's backed up. Do I sit down at a stool and have a cocktail with my paisans? No, I get them off my butt and get behind the bar and do her dishes. I said, I can't make you a cocktail, but I sure as hell can wash a dish and then drink from it later.
Yeah, I've seen you wash dishes there. I've been talking to you at one point, and like I'm having a drink, and you're talking, and like in the middle of a sentence, you're like, hold on a second. I look over there, and you're washing a dish, or you're bussing a table. It's just the way that place is. So you just mentioned Paisan. So let's talk about this, right? So I've been in your place a bunch of times and stumbled out equally as many times. Every time I'm in there. That's true. My wife's car is regularly there the next day. So what happens sometimes is I'll walk in there and you will be there with a paisan, and it could be a local celebrity, and there's been other celebrities there. But you also make the regular customers feel like they're celebrities. So that's one of the reasons why I like going there, because I love having my ego stroked. So what's your favorite celebrity experience in a restaurant that you've had?
It's that again, another awesome question. There's been quite a few amazing people that I never thought I'd have the opportunity to meet that came into the restaurant. But Sonia Sotomayor, our Supreme Court Justice, was probably the best, right? So Sonia, her brother Juan, is a regular customer of ours and has become a great friend. And he's just an amazing man. And when he said to me, Laura, Sonia's coming in town, and I'm like this, okay, whatever. Because I'm like, she's not going to come to my restaurant. I'm just a little hole in the wall, right? Well, all of a sudden, here comes all the Secret Service boys, and here's what we're gonna sit in this room. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. That's exactly where you're gonna sit. We'll change the entire floor plan. Thank you for being here. And what an amazing woman she is. And what a treat it was to have her in my restaurant. She wanted to go into the kitchen. She wanted to meet my team. She wanted to take pictures. Her only prerequisite was nothing on social media. I get it. It's fine. But I've got that picture with me. And when I got invited to her inauguration into the Women's Hall of Fame, I'm like, oh, hell yes, I'm going. So that picture I could post, and I did post.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's insane. She's always very kind when I meet her. And again, Juan and his girlfriend, they're great people. I'm very, very lucky.
That's what keeps people coming back to your place, because the food's on point. I love the food. My wife is obsessed with the chickpeas, but you gave me a little package of the seasoning so I can make it at home, which is just awesome. But that type of atmosphere is good for a celebrity and for regular people, because what'll happen is like people don't crowd somebody over there when I've seen celebrities in there, and it's never like over the top. So I mean, kudos to you guys and for the staff for not like fangirling and fanboying out on everybody that comes in there, because you see a lot of that. But I didn't know that she was there, and I didn't know that story. So that's really cool.
It is a fun story. And I know that when she comes to town again, she'll be in again. And she's, she signed a book for me, sent me a note afterwards. I mean, just one of the most kindest people, and loves whiskey. I'm a happy girl. If someone else loves whiskey, I'm a real happy girl.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a celebrity encounter I had at a bar when I was much younger. I was just out of college working in New York City at this ad agency. And my friend Kyle and Sarah, who he'll end up being a guest on the show. I've been on his podcast. He owns a bunch of restaurants now, but he started out in advertising. And he has a national restaurant owners podcast, which you'd be a great fit for. But he and I were young and getting into trouble. So what we would do is our office was on 49th and 8th in Manhattan. And it was right near, you could go a little bit over, and there was like the theater district was there with different bars. And there was a bar that usually on Friday afternoons would not be that crowded. So we would go there, do some shots, have some drinks, and kind of game plan out where we're going to chase girls or what we're going to do that night. So that was like, we would sneak out of work a little bit early, have some drinks, and then plan out the night. So we walk into this bar, and a week before that, or maybe it was early in the season, I don't know, the Yankees had traded for a baseball player named Rondell White. And Rondell White's nickname was Thunder Hands because he swung really quickly through the strike zone. So we walked in the bar, and it was usually empty. And we walked in, and in the corner was Rondell White and these two women. And it wasn't like him and like two like groupies. It looked like it might have been an agent or somebody out there. They were having like a professional conversation, but having drinks. So Kyle and I are like, oh my God, that's Rondell White. And even though I'm a Mets fan, like, this is a big baseball guy. So he's like, we should go talk to him. And I'm like, yeah, obviously we should go talk to him. Because I'm sure he's like, I hope someone, I mean, he went to an empty bar hoping that no one would come up. So we're like, I'm sure he wants to talk. So we go over there briefly and kind of interrupt him. We're like, Mr. White, we're so sorry to interrupt. Thunder Hands, man. Like, he was big with the Twins before that. I'm like, even as a Mets fan, and Kyle said some stuff. We're like, it's awesome that you're in New York, dude. We just think you're super cool. Great nickname. Hope you have a great night, man. Good luck. Blah, blah, blah. So he's like, looks at us and he like sips his drink and he's like, thanks, man. And he remembers our name, like, thanks, man. Thanks, Kyle. Like, kind of polite, like, cool, thanks, but get out of here. So, but classy. So we're like, cool. So we go back to the corner and keep drinking and getting our thing ready to go, getting planned out to make our wave of attack. So as we're planning this thing out, thinking about the bars we're going, there's a really cool 80s club in New York at the time. It had bleachers in it and stuff, and like girls like to go there. So we're like, we're going to go to this bar. As we're discussing that, Rondell White walks out with the two women that he was talking to and turns to us and he goes, hey guys, have a great night. Thanks for being fans, and walks down the steps. It was an upstairs bar. So we finish our drink and we go to the bar and do a shot and we go to pay the bill. And the bartender says, oh guys, Mr. White took care of your bill. Have a great night. And this guy, like we interrupted a conversation he had, and when he was leaving, we like signed his bill and probably was just like, all right, I'll take care of those guys' drinks too. And it was a small thing because, I mean, I doubt that he remembers that. But for me and Kyle, I just texted him early. I'm like, yo, I'm talking to one of my favorite people on this podcast today. I'm going to reference that story. Do you think Rondell will remember? And he's like, no, he won't remember that. Are you out of your mind? Of course he won't. But that type of activity, when you see people like that, like you take time to meet people that haven't, like you've met students of mine before to talk about the business of whether it's booze or restaurants and real estate. Like when you see people willing to take time for others, man, that to me, that does it, you know?
It really does. And it happens all the time now with us being closed. I had a customer text me today, Laura, do you got time to talk for a minute? I have no idea who it is. I have no idea what their name is. I'm like, okay, who is this? And even when they tell me their name, I've got to try to recall. She's like, oh, I just needed a help with a contractor. And I know you've got a contract. You know, it's just what happens. It's just how we operate there. And it's a fun story though, Matt, because I'll tell you what, he may not have remembered your names, but I bet you he remembered the gesture.
Yeah. You know, I think about like Maya Angelou said it. I'm sure Jackie Robinson said a version of it too, right? No one remembers what you said or what you did, is how you made them feel.
That's right.
That type of stuff. That's pretty cool. All right. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about what you want to talk about. Before we do that, we always do a lightning round. So these are 5 questions. You have no idea are coming. You have to pick one of the 2 options, and then you can say why you want to or not. Are you ready?
I'm always ready. So what are the 2? Do I get the options first or the question first?
I'm just going to give you the question. You're going to pick one of 2 options and then go from there. You ready?
Heard.
Okay. The first one, you can either go to a dog show or a drag show.
Drag show.
Oh, well, I was surprised. I thought you might have had a harder time with that. All right.
Drag show.
Quick
I can
answer.
get a dog show at home. My 2 dogs give me a show every day. I don't need no one else's dogs.
All right. So next, you are at the bar. You're not working. This is someone else's bar. You're chilling on your own. Would you rather have pretzels or peanuts?
Pretzels.
I knew you were going to say pretzels. You have pretzels in your bar.
Yeah, pretzels are easier to eat. You can eat them slower, and they don't get caught in your teeth as easy.
True. There's nothing worse than like thinking you're looking good on a date or something like that, and you've got something stuck in your teeth. That's the worst. And you're like, oh, dude, like I got it right where I want it. And you go in the bathroom, and you're like, oh shit, how long has this been in my teeth?
That nice little piece of green parsley.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's always something green too, you know? Okay. So here's one that we think might be tough, but you're a wild card, so who knows? You can either have the perfect glass of bourbon or the perfect first kiss.
Ooh, girl. I would say the perfect glass of bourbon.
Wow. All right. Wow. Okay. I mean, for someone that drinks so much really, really great bourbon, I'm surprised that was the answer. That's a commitment to your craft right there, Laura.
Well, here's the drill. Here's the reason why I answered it that way. It's tough to find that perfect glass of bourbon. There's nothing easy about how many times I've gone into how many distilleries and talked to how many owners and sampled how many different whiskeys that come into the restaurant. It's a challenge. Is it hard to find the first and I shouldn't say the first, but the perfect kiss? Sometimes there's conversation around that before it happens, which helps set the stage. You can't set the stage the right way for the perfect glass of bourbon because everyone's taste buds are different.
Wow. Okay. So you know what? That's a great answer because you're right. You can set up the perfect kiss, the timing of it. Like you have control over that, right? But the bourbon, right, you really don't. That's good insight.
It's a little deeper, babe. A little deeper.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. Like every time I'm around you, I'm learning something new. So the next one, we want to make another really hard question for you because apparently the dog show, drag show was too easy a question. I thought you were going to struggle with it, but of course not. So we wanted to pick some things that we know that you love and are passionate about. So here's the deal. You can have your entire house custom made and designed by Mackenzie Childs with all their creative team in there, everything you want. Or we also need like to travel. You can also have like the ultimate RV, like a land yacht, basically. So would you rather pick the Mackenzie Childs Laura Serway edition or the ultimate RV? Like we're talking about, like it has bidet in there, like whatever you want, man.
No, it's the ultimate RV, of course. Because listen, I already have the ultimate Mackenzie Childs house. If you haven't been here, you will see it. So I ain't scared to do my own stuff with Mackenzie Childs. I hate the fact that we don't have our barn sale this year, but that's beside the point. But you know what? I think that to experience more of life, having that ultimate RV setup. I have an RV as we sit here. I tried to go by your house a couple of weeks ago. You guys were at home. But, you know, I love my RV. And I don't get enough time in it. So it would absolutely be the ultimate RV. And making sure that it's a short one, though, because the long ones are not as easy as to drive as you think. The short ones are very easy to drive. The one I have right now is a 24-foot. It's very easy to drive. Even a 30 was a little more challenging, but I would never go higher than a 30 ever again.
Wow. Now, what are the things you have to give up with that size difference? Like a wet bar, like how does that work? Like is that what it is?
Yeah, the size difference means a smaller kitchen. It might mean another set of beds somewhere. It might mean a larger bathroom. What I love about the one that I have right now is, listen, there's enough room for me and my 2 dogs. If someone else takes along, okay. If they don't, I'm good too. It's all about the bourbon.
Bourbon's the best traveling companion.
Absolutely.
Not when we're driving, of course.
Park and sip, baby.
That's it. Okay, so here's the last one, the lightning round. Would you rather have a great bartender or a great server?
Probably a great bartender, because I would always eat at the bar anyway if I could. You see more of what's going on. You get the real depth of the location you are visiting from the bar. The bar tells it all for me. The server, it's great. You can see where you are, and they understand the business. They're good at representing the organization. But the bar is where the depth and the breadth, that's where it comes from, is the bar area.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you would answer with that, but I do remember, like, when I first came out too, one of the times when I was working at La Torre and you were working at the radio station at the time, I think, or the TV station, and we were meeting for lunch, and you're like, let's just eat at the bar. And I was like, oh, why wouldn't we sit down at the table? And you're like, well, 1, it's easier to network, so watch this. So we sit down, and you're like, 2, you can control the time easier. Like, if I've got other meetings to go to, like, this makes it easier than waiting for a server and things like that. So that was a really good tip that I use to this day, especially if it's someone that I have to have lunch with, but I don't want to, like, be there forever. You know what I mean? I'm like, let's just eat at the bar.
Because you have some talkers out there, and that's the idea. So I'm a little bit of a control freak, a little type A. Sound familiar? And so here we go. Let's set it up to win. Begin with the end in mind. Here we go. Here's how I'm going to do it. So eating at the bar is a fun way to I think, to definitely experience the entire facility.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things too that you would talk about, other people that I've worked with that have taught me stuff about building relationships, is when you want to control as much of the scenario as you can, like the time of it, not like dominate it, but rather like, I want to have control, because then you can actually try to make sure the points are being made. And that's a good way to do that. That's a really good way to do that.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So listen, before we close out, you have so many inspirational things, like your Instagram handle is off the charts in terms of inspiration. And every day, like, there's a great message that comes out of there. LACI'S stuff is always awesome. The restaurant's always awesome. What do you want to tell people? Like, whatever it is, what should people be thinking about right now? Like, what community, like you're driving for Meals or Wheels and different things you're doing, Salvation Army. What do you want to tell the world, man, that will make them better?
Find the silver lining. Be thankful for what we have right now. You know, everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. And as hard as it was to lay off my employees when I first had to do that, I feel now they are better off and life is good. And listen, I'm grateful. I hope that everyone can be grateful for where they are today and what they have and who they are. And be sure to always lend a hand. And if I can't get up every morning and help somebody, I'm not living my life the right way, because at the end of the day, it's all about what I can do for someone else in this community.
Man, and it's so true. Like, it's not lip service from you. You know, congrats on the Crystal Ball Award winner. I mean, all these things that they've done, and even when then that gets taken away from you, the chance that we were going to party our faces off that night. you still give back to the community. And what I love about you too is it's usually not about you, right? Like, it's funny. You're always we, unless something's screwed up, then it's I. And that's something that I try to tell my students about. Like, it's accountability and emotional accountability. And man, we're grateful for it. So to all of Spatchcock Nation, people that love bourbon, people that love other people, here's to you, my friend. Thanks for being on the show. To you,
always
Laura.
there for you, my brother. Love you.
Hey, we'll see y'all soon. Love y'all.